Hi everyone, welcome to week 3 inversion practice. We're moving from headstand to forearm balance. Now you can work with these inversions in any way that suits you, so you could work all of them at the same time. They all help each other, but you could also focus on one or two if that works better for you. Now the good thing about forearm balance is there's no pressure into the head. You are purely taking the weight onto the forearms, feeding into the shoulders and the latissimus dorsi and the serratus. So the most important prep poses for forearm balance is the forearm plank, and also side plank, and the body lifts and the core work. Now it's also harder than headstand for most people because you have less of a base to support you. So if you imagine when you do headstand, whether you do it as a tripod or interlacing the fingers, you've got your head and your arms, shoulders, but in forearm balance you only have your arms and your shoulders. So you'll notice, for example, that when I go up, I don't go up with two straight legs. It's too hard for me. And then when you see me do handstand, I actually need momentum to get up. So here I can come up with one leg, then the other leg, not use much momentum. And then when I do handstand, which is even harder, I actually do have to use momentum. So they are progressively getting harder. So initially, you would want to be able to just walk your feet in so that your hips come over your shoulders, and that requires quite good core. You really feel your core being squeezed, and also the hamstrings need to be quite open, which is why I put in some hamstring stretches in the general warm-ups for these. But if hamstrings is an issue for you, I would recommend that you do additional hamstring work. So you could do leg stretches with a belt, for example. There's lots of different ways to lengthen the hamstrings. So I'm going to show you stage 1. Now it looks easy. It's really hard to walk your feet in so your hips come over your shoulders. And when I first started doing forearm inversions, working towards Pincha Mayurasana, all I could do was walk my feet in, and I would just be exhausted, and I would literally do that probably for weeks, if not months, before I could then lift one leg and then the other leg. So I'm just going to show you the first stage. You'll need a block or a brick ideally, and this is to bring your arms into good position. So again, you don't have the elbows going out. So what tends to happen is the hands come together, the elbows go out, the shoulders hunch, and you lose this. Now you can also use a brick. I prefer the brick, and I'm not particularly sure why. It means that I'm a little bit narrower, so it makes it a little bit more challenging for the shoulders. I just quite like to work with the brick, so see what works for you. But it is important to have a prop for this. Again, you can do this against the wall if you're not stable enough. I'll do it in the middle of the room. So the first stage is to come onto all fours, bring the forearms down, and line the elbows up with the wrist. So my elbows are maybe a tiny bit wider than the brick, but they are more or less in line. And then see if you can bring the thumbs come underneath and the index finger to the side. Actually, let me do this one as a block. This makes it so a little bit easier to bring the elbows in line with the wrist. Good. And then I'd like you to, as you bring the forearms down, see if you can press them down and then roll them slightly out, so the inner flesh comes forwards and in. It's just a way to stabilize you a little bit more securely onto the floor. And then really push through the hands, push through the lower arms, tuck your toes under, and literally just walk yourself forward until you feel that your hips are over your shoulders, or nearly so. Take a few breaths here, walk back, and rest in child's pose. So that will be stage 1. And like I said, it will feel exhausting, and it's really a good idea to keep practicing that before you move on. Now stage 2 will be to walk the feet in and lift one leg, bring that leg down and lift the other leg. So alternating between the legs. Again, as you bring the forearms down, try and push the arms slightly outwards. Really push to the lower arms and the hands. Tuck the toes under, walk your feet in, lift one leg, pause. Lift the other leg, pause. And then come back. Rest in child's pose. And try again. So, exhausting again, really hard work. I would keep doing that for quite a long time before you come up. Now when you come up all the way, even though I can't lift both my legs with control at the same time, I am coming up with control, so there's no momentum. I'm not taking momentum which potentially then takes me out of my balance point. I'm trying to find that lightness. It's a little bit similar to the lightness that you feel in headstand, where you feel like you can just literally lift the legs really easily. It's, for me, not as easy in forearm balance. I think that's sort of similar for most people. So I'm going to come all the way up this time. I'm just going to keep my legs straight, and then I'll come back down into child's pose. So you could see that I took a little bit of momentum, but not loads. So I was easily able to break myself at the top. I didn't lose control. Now I'm going to try and see if I can come up a little bit more lightly on my next one. And on this one I'm just going to show some variations for some of you who would like to extend. So you're going from Pincha Mayurasana, which is just legs up straight, to maybe varying that with taking the legs long for splits, or you can come into a little bit of a back bend, so you're trying to lift your chest and your head and bring your feet towards your head. So I'm just going to have a little play. There's lots of different variations again for forearm balance, but I'm just going to focus on those two today. So have a go at practicing those stages. Try and stay at the stage where you're at. It will take time. But remember, you've always got these videos, so once you've really feel comfortable in one stage, you can get the video back up and look at the next stage. Obviously there's loads of resources online where people can sort of guide you through forearm balance, Pincha Mayurasana. And we'll meet again on Saturday at 2:30, and again I'll be calling you in to practice what you're working on. We'll quickly look at everyone's headstands, and then we'll go and we'll look at everyone's forearm balance, and you'll get an email again to explain all of that. Thank you. Namaste.